I represent the good people of Ikenne, Shagamu, Remo North Federal Constituency. I'm from Ogun State, the Gateway State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise this morning to present a motion of urgent public importance on the urgent need to investigate the severe lead poisoning crisis in Ogijo community in Shagamu, Ikenne, Remo North Federal Constituency in Ogun State. The House notes that Section 20 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, mandates the state to protect and improve the environment and safeguard the water, air, land, forest, and wildlife of Nigeria, and that persistent environmental abuse amounts to a violation of citizens' right to life and human dignity, with serious consequences for Nigerians' image internationally. Also notes that the Factories Act, Cap F1, LFN 2004, imposes duties on employers to ensure that the health, safety, and welfare of persons employed in factories, and the National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, NESREA Act 2007, established mechanisms for environmental protection, which are further enforced by its National Environmental Battery Control Regulations 2024 regarding the life cycle of batteries to prevent pollution from hazardous materials such as lead. Alarmed by the severe lead poisoning outbreak in Ogijo, Shagamu local government area of Ogun State, which has been linked to battery recycling factories operating without adequate environmental and safety controls, leading to the contamination of soil, water sources, and air, and exposing thousands of residents and workers to dangerous levels of lead. Aware that this crisis has attracted intense international scrutiny and condemnation from leading global health organizations, environmental advocacy groups, and prominent foreign media, notably the New York Times through its widely circulated investigative documentary, The Examination, many of which have openly questioned Nigerians' commitment and capacity to enforce its own environmental and public health laws. Further aware that the Ogijo incident is the latest in a series of documented lead poisoning cases in Zamfara, Sokoto, Niger, Osun, Oyo, Plateau, and now Ogun State, reflecting an ongoing national challenge in managing industrial and mining-related pollution, and continue to raise concerns about Nigerians' environmental safety record among the international community. Concerned that the irreversible neurological damage, developmental disorders in children, organ failure, cancers, reproductive health complications, and premature deaths associated with lead exposure, together with observable gaps in enhancement of existing regulations, are increasingly referenced as indicators of governance and regulatory weaknesses and poor protection of vulnerable population. Disturbed that previous enforcement actions by the federal and state governments, including factory closures and a temporary ban on lead ingot exports, were subsequently relaxed or lifted, allowing hazardous operations to resume, therefore creating the impression that short-term economic considerations are being placed above human life and long-term national interests. Convinced that without immediate and robust legislative interventions, including urgent amendment of extant laws and related regulations, as well as the imposition of deterrent penalties, Nigeria risks long-term reputational damage, possible trade restrictions on recycled metals, and bears the moral and financial burden of a preventable national epidemic. Resolves to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the Ogijo lead poisoning crisis, to ascertain the environmental and health impacts on residents and workers, and review relevant extant laws and report back to the House within 8 weeks for further legislative action. To call on the federal government to impose a moratorium on the export of recycled lead ingots pending the completion of the investigation. 3, urge the Federal Ministry of Environment, Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, and NESREA to collaborate with the Ogun State government to deploy a joint emergency response team to Ogijo and other affected areas. And 4, Also urge the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to provide emergency medical assistance, humanitarian support, and temporary relocation for severely affected families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rest.
Any second